Well, as we've been hearing tonight, it is not easy to be deeply religious in America today. And I think there are quite a few people who would say it's not just a problem for Muslims, but also for Jews and Christians as well. The news, when it covers religion at all, tends to zero in on political conflict or physical conflict or individual figures in positions of authority doing terrible things. Reflects badly on the religion, but it doesn't necessarily mean, of course, that everybody practicing the religion should get to pay the bill for some crime they did not commit. Screenwriters for television and film often cast the religious character as somebody who is annoying at best, but more often self-righteous, rigid, cruel, even evil. It's a very common thing now. You get to watch it in Hollywood. And what are you going to do? Write reviews to the local newspaper? You can't complain about creative fiction. Facebook friends, I don't know if you've had this experience, I certainly have. Think nothing of slamming entire faiths or religion altogether online. They don't really expect you to respond. If you actually did, you'd probably get tangled up in an ugly public argument with friends, relatives, colleagues who are not genuinely open-minded or humble or compassionate, the very things they accuse religious people of failing to be. It's a PR problem, but it's also a major turnoff to young people coming up in a faith who wants to be attached to something seen in such a negative light. So how's a religious person to represent well, to be seen fairly and justly as an individual, to reflect positively on the faith you follow? Is there a way people of different faiths can reach across the divide of history, culture, and belief to support each other in a common effort to cultivate respect from the public at large? These are the questions we'll be discussing tonight. So at this juncture, I'd love to welcome on stage 4 youth leaders who are going to join our conversation. Osama el-Gabalawy is a junior at Stanford University and president of the Islamic Society of Stanford. Osama is studying biology and computer science, but he also moonlights as a comedian, so we'll be expecting him to be funny tonight. No pressure, Osama. Simone Hudson is a sophomore at Stanford and a member of Hillel at Stanford. She's an active member of Bend the Arc, a Jewish partnership for justice, and helps run Challah for Hunger, a social action project at Hillel. Come on up, Simone. Seher Siddiqee is a senior at Santa Clara University and an intern in interfaith programs at ING. Seher's future plans include graduate school, where she intends to become a chaplain. And there you are. And last but not least, Tim Brauhn, a communications manager at ING. Tim is a Catholic and about to become a father, and apparently running a fake meat company. We'll have to ask you about that later. So I'm going to start throwing out a few questions. And just grab a microphone. I might pass it down this way. Might be the easiest way to do it. I thought we might start with Dalia. What are polls telling us about the religiosity of young people today?
Well, first of all, I want to say Assalamu alaikum. And I want to talk about how honored I am to be here. I've actually been a follower of ING's work since 2002, when I used their content in an outreach program that I was running in Pittsburgh. So it's just really a huge pleasure to be here with you. As for what polls are saying about the religiosity of young people, it's really very interesting because young people today are not only less religious than their elders, but they're less religious than any generation of young people as long as we've been measuring. So if I just look at adults or American adults altogether, if you compare the 1960s to today, the percentage of people who say that they aren't affiliated with any religion went from 2% to about 20%. So huge, huge increase. But among young people, it's about a third who say that they are not affiliated with any faith.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, hey, what accounts for the decline in religiosity and religious affiliation among young people?
Well, first of all, it's good to be back home. Although there's one person from Boston here, so they might be angry, but salam alaikum, family. It's good to see everybody in the Bay Area again, alhamdulillah. That's a great question. So kind of based on your introduction, I think there's three areas. Number one is that religion in general hasn't done a very good job. And Diana Bash, she has a very good book called Christianity or Christianity After Religion, finding Christ after Christianity. And she knows that, from basically 2000 till now, look what happened. You had the Gore-Bush fiasco, which many people saw, the Christian right in America, undercut an election. Then in 2000, in 9/11, you had what was seen as an attack by people in the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, blowing up buildings. Regardless if you believe Muslims did or not, that's not our point. How it's perceived is what we should be concerned about. Then you had the Catholic Church fiasco. After that, you had, again, abortion coming up. Then you had gay marriage. Then you have, people like Tom Coburn from my state, Oklahoma, may Allah forgive me, saying that there's no global warming in the name of Christ. So through 2000 to almost 2014, there have been around 7 or 8 major national as well as international events where religion has looked acutely illogical and at times absolutely irrelevant to people, whether we want to admit it or not. Secondly is the failure of religious institutions to speak in a language that young people understand. I'll give a very good example, and this is not to call anyone out. Instead of using Maryam as an example of wearing a hijab, when people in America say to us that, Muslims are so patriarchal, we could tell them, well, Yuna, and I know young people know who that is, she's teaching hipsters what it means to love somebody. She has a hijab on, and she's from Malaysia, and she had a song in America that was number 3 in this country. Point being that many, at least in our community, young people believe maybe in religion, they're questioning the institutions that claim to hold those religions up.
Osama, many young people, and for that matter, many old people, and those of us in between, see religion as restrictive and repressive. What truth do you think there is in this perception? How fair is it really?
I just want to start by saying Assalamu alaikum and thank you for having me. This question is it's pretty tough, and I think we can start looking at these what the perception of the youth is of religions in general and why they're negative and why they think it's repressive. And I think you can start off by first looking at the society. People think that, or at least my peers from the university and from the Muslim community that I interact with, that people think religion keeps people in ignorance. And I think this is a big point. And the second thing is I think, I'm drawing a blank here, I think that people think religion creates barriers, unnecessary, inter and intra-religious barriers. And then lastly, this is more my experience with the Muslim community. People think that religious, puts limits on their social lives. So, this is like no alcohol, no sexual relationships. It kind of hampers, the potential they have. And, speaking of the truth of these perceptions, I'm a little bit biased, but I think they're mostly unfounded. And I think, for example, for the religion keeping people in ignorance, people from universities, especially academics, they think that religion and science are incompatible. That science, most students, their professors, the large majority of academics are atheists, and that their professors must know something that they don't. Also, they think that science is the truthier truth, and it makes religion obsolete. The other point with the barriers, I think that's just that's not really true. But also for the social life, I think that religion, it may sound like it hampers your social life, but the truth is that at the foundation of any kind of at the foundation of any type of community is something that we all have in common. And religion, at least for the Muslim community, is one of the most fundamental aspects of community. I mean, religion is one of the most fundamental aspects of community.